Several coastal and low-lying areas around the Virgin Islands are already showing signs of the impact of climate change. Technical Planning Officer at the Department of Disaster Management, Christopher Williams, spoke with JTV News about the visible signs of climate change in the BVI.
Well, we have definitely observed some impacts of coastal erosion throughout the BVI. One of the arguments is whether this is as a result of climate change and sea level rise, or whether it is as a result of human action, poor development or poorly planned development. So that is always an ongoing argument. However, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has made some predictions on global sea level rise, which is what we've used to actually produce some of the maps in this area, showing which areas are more likely to be affected within a timeline for the year 2030, 2050, 2070, and 2100. And with that information, this can equip our decision makers to plan development accordingly.
Williams says climate change will increase the frequency of extreme meteorological events like hurricanes and potential impact of global sea level rise and erosion. He said in another 20 years, many low-lying areas will be affected by the sea level rise, specifically in the island of Anegada.
Nutmeg Point, etc., on the southern coast of Anegada. We're expecting that the areas of red are the areas that we expect encroachment by the sea in all of these areas. And when you take into consideration that a lot of Anegada is already made up of inland fresh brackish water ponds, then it really is a significant impact. Because when you look at it, a lot of the coastal roads are falling in these very areas where this prediction is seen. And if you look, it's a progression, because by 2030, we expect a sea level rise of 0.17 meters. And by 2050, we expect it to increase to 0.32 meters, which is about a foot of sea level rise. And then you see that these areas would be even more affected. When we look at 2070 at 0.54 meters, which is like 1.5 feet of sea level rise, you can see that these areas of inundation increase even further. And by 2100, where the prediction is close to a 1 meter sea level rise, which is about 3 feet, then you can see there will be a definite impact and a definite limitation on development in Anegada as a result of sea level rise. Even at Tortola, you can see some of the areas that we know very well, such as Nanny Key, Bird Point, Wickham's Key 1 and 2, and the Road Town area would be expected to be impacted. And even on Beef Island, to the northern sections of Beef Island, you'd expect some impact of sea level rise as well. What they're stating, by the IPCC is stating, is that for every 1 vertical unit of sea level rise, you can expect 100 units of erosion. So, for example, if sea level were to rise by 1 meter, you can expect 100 meters of erosion inland.
Research on the damage caused by storm surge was carried out by Dr. Aurelio Mercado Irizarry, a physical oceanographer at the Center for Coastal Hazard in the Department of Marine Services at the University of Puerto Rico. Dr. Mercado said many beaches and sandy islands are disappearing as a result of sea level rise. Measures from tidal gauge in Puerto Rico show that in September of 2012, all historical records for monthly average sea level elevations had been broken for sea level rise, and it is expected that the levels for October 2012 would have been even higher. After visiting the vulnerable coastal areas around Anegada and Tortola, Dr. Mercado met with officials from the Lands and Survey Department and the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor to discuss the current situation and to provide recommendations on how to address the coastal erosion concerns occurring throughout the territory.